In this video, we're going to preview solving polynomial equations. We've really done this when we do quadratics, but we're extending this one step further. So be sure to pay attention to the details. That's what's going to make or break you this time through. If I look at this equation, we have x to the fourth plus 7x squared minus 18 equals 0. If you notice, this is actually a quadratic-like equation because we have x to the fourth, we have an x squared, and we have a constant. So to start, I'm going to factor this. So let's just factor the binomial. Pretend it's x squared plus 7x minus 18. So we get x squared plus 9, and we get x squared minus 2 equals 0. So that's how it should be factored. I can then take both of these and I can separate them into two equations. So we have x squared plus 9 equals 0 because remember we're trying to find the roots. We're trying to find the zeros. And I have x squared minus 2 equals 0. I still don't know what x is, so I have to continue. I'm going to take the 9 and I'm going to move it to the other side of the equation. So x squared equals negative 9. And then I'm going to do the square root. So x equals the square root of negative 9. If you remember, if there's a negative inside the square root sign, that means an I comes out. So this becomes x equals positive or negative, because we have two roots, I square root of 9. Well, what's the square root of 9? Square root of 9 is 3. So our final answer for this piece is x equals plus or minus 3i. Okay, so hopefully you're good on that end. For the other piece, we have x squared minus 2 equals 0. So I'm going to put the 2 to the other side. So I have x squared equals 2, and I take the square root, so I get x equals the square root of 2. But remember, two roots, positive and negative. There's no I to worry about. Square root of 2 is in simplest radical form, so we can stop here. So our four solutions for our quartic are right here. X equals positive or negative square root of 2, and x equals positive or negative 3i. Okay, remember it's a quartic, so there will be four separate solutions. Go as far as you can with this. If you have to factor again, make sure you do it. In this case, I didn't have to. You should get four solutions for a quartic, even if some of them are exactly the same. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is a cubic. Cubics are just a little bit different. In our case, the first thing we're going to look for with cubic equations are anything we can factor out. And I can, but I'm not going to, and I'll explain that in a minute. But I can factor something out, but I don't want to right now. If I have a GCF, you can certainly factor that out, especially if there's an x term, if there's a variable with an x that you need to factor out. In this case, we're going to use one of the two formulas for the difference of cubes or the sum of cubes. And you use them exactly the same way. And yes, I will put them on the board for the quiz on Friday, so don't panic, because I don't expect you to have them memorized yet. But I do want you to practice with them. So, for this one, I have to make note, is it the sum or the difference? Well, because I'm subtracting right here, subtraction, okay, that means it's the difference, right? Sum means I add, difference means that I subtract. So I'm going to use the first formula up here. You got to figure out what A stands for and what B stands for. Okay, so I'm going to take 64 x to the third, and I'm going to rewrite it as though the whole thing is a cube. Well, 64 is 4 times 4 times 4, so that's a perfect cube. So I'm going to rewrite this 4x, that whole expression, to the third power. 8 is also a perfect cube. 8 is 2 raised to the third power. So I'm going to rewrite my equation as 4x to the third power minus 2 raised to the third power equals 0. So now 4x is my a and 2 is my b. Now I can use that formula that we had before. So a minus b, so I'm going to do 4x minus 2 equals 0. Oops, let me factor it for you. So we're going to have 4x minus 2, okay, times 4x squared, like this, plus 4x times 2 is 8x, plus 2 squared, which is 4. Okay? So now I can split those things up into two pieces. And let's just work with the 4x minus 2. So this piece comes down here. Hope I'm not confusing you guys too much. So 4x minus 2 equals 0. 4x equals 2. Divide by 4. So x equals 1/2. And there's one of my two roots, one of my three roots, because this is a cubic. If I look at the other piece, we have, I'm going to multiply it out. So we have 16x squared plus 8x plus 4. Alright, so with this one, I am going to factor out my 4 first. So we have 4 times 4x squared plus 2x plus 1 equals 0. The 4 I don't have to worry about. That's 4 equals 0 does not give me any root, any solution. For 4x squared plus 2x plus 1, I now have to use the quadratic equation. So if you remember, it's negative b, so negative 2 plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4a, so 4 times 4 is 16, times c is 1 minus 16, all over 2a. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay, that gives us our two roots. So x equals that as well. And to simplify that, 4 minus 16 is negative 12. I'm just going to put that up here. So the square root of negative 12 is the same as 2i root 3. Okay, that's kind of my aside. So x equals, let's see, the 2's can cancel out, and 4. So I have negative 1 plus or minus I root 3 all over 4. And those are my other two roots, because remember there's a positive negative 1 plus I root 3, and there's a negative 1 minus I root 3. I hope this wasn't too confusing for you. If I need to, I will put another one up. Just ask me in class, and I'll probably do the sum of the cubes. So hopefully you could follow along what I did. Please ask questions, and we'll discuss more in class. Okay, thanks.